Welcome, viewers. Today, we address a narrative that distorts historical truths about lynching in America. In response to statements made by ZeroDarkTony, which include inappropriate racial slurs and references to the New Orleans lynching, it is our duty to correct the record. In today's segment, we address a critical and sensitive topic that may be distressing to some viewers. Please be advised, the following report includes discussions of racial violence and offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. Lynching has a deep and painful history in America, primarily as a tool of terror against Black Americans. Tony's reference to the 1891 lynching of Italian Americans in New Orleans is a stark reminder of the xenophobia and violence of that era. However, suggesting that Italians were lynched first not only distorts historical facts but also trivializes the widespread racial violence experienced by Black communities.
Bit of the North African in it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure I'm more African than he is. Just to say, just to respond. But he's also a faggot. And he's a lawn jockey faggot.
More than any man has loved another man.
How to know that day?
In all eternity.
How could someone say you're racist if I'm talking about Black people and you're fucking Chinese? Shut the fuck up, chink.
$2,700.
Gooks!
From a $10,000 life insurance policy.
Hey, but no, for real though, I'm the first one to call myself a Dago Guinea Wop fucking asshole son of a bitch. What the hell? I keep saying there's more of those names for Italians than anybody. Greaseball, Goomba, come on. Chink, slant, gook. That's 3. All right. What did I count out? 5 for Italians? I think we win. What is it? What do we got for Blacks? We got N-word. We got the porch monkey. What else? That's it. That's 2. Okay. Italians win. Thank you. I don't know what the fuck the problem is. Everybody gives Italians a hard time. We were the first ones that got... You know what? I'm going to show you something in a second here. You dumb history fucks. After we watch this Al Pacino. I'm going to give you a history lesson on Blacks and Italians. And some Chinese.
We've just witnessed deeply disturbing remarks that underscore a misuse of historical context and misinformation to justify offensive behavior. Such claims not only distort reality but also undermine the serious impacts of racism across various communities. Claims that one group has faced more prejudice than another overlook the broad and painful realities of discrimination and hate that many have endured.
About
it is not a competition.
So, a lot of people think that the first lynching was of someone named Joseph McCoy. There's a lot of different stories. However, what people don't recognize in history is the New Orleans lynchings of 1891. Okay, just show you here. The New Orleans lynchings were the murders of 11 Italian Americans, immigrants in New Orleans, by a mob for their alleged role in the murder of police chief David Hennessy after some of them had been acquitted at trial. So they were acquitted and then they still lynched them. It was the largest single mass lynching in American history. Most of the lynching victims accused in the murder had been rounded up and charged due to their Italian ethnicity. New Orleans lynchings. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if people knew their history, they wouldn't be just regular, stupid Fucks.
Let's address and correct two significant historical misrepresentations made by ZeroDarkTony. He claims that many people believe Joseph McCoy was the first person lynched and also portrays Italians as the first group to suffer from lynching in America. Let's examine the facts to set the record straight. Joseph McCoy's lynching was indeed tragic and serves as a stark example of the brutal violence that many individuals have faced. However, the assertion that he was the first person lynched in America is historically inaccurate. The practice of lynching predates McCoy by centuries, originally used as a form of extrajudicial punishment and control. It is true that it has been used against various racial and ethnic groups. Similarly, the notion that Italians were the first group to be lynched also misrepresents historical realities. While the lynching of Italian Americans, most infamously in the 1891 New Orleans massacre, was a horrific manifestation of ethnic violence, it was not the inception of lynching in America. Historically, Black Americans have been disproportionately targeted by lynching, used as a systemic tool of racial terror and oppression, particularly in the post-Civil War South. These claims not only distort specific historical events but also detract from systemic issues of racial violence that have plagued our history and continue to this day. By framing lynching as a competition of suffering, Tony D'Amato is undermining the profound impacts. Discussions about history should be rooted in truth and understanding. The history of lynching, slavery, and white supremacy as a system requires careful, accurate reflection. Lynching was not only a form of vigilante justice but a systematic tool of racial terror. This is based on painstaking research conducted by organizations committed to uncovering the truth. According to the Equal Justice Initiative, between 1877 and 1950, 4,075 Black Americans were lynched in the United States. These acts of terror were not random violence but targeted attacks intended to maintain white supremacy and control over the Black population. This data comes from the Lynching in America, Confronting the Legacy of Racial Terror report, now in its third edition, which documents these atrocities in a bid to foster a deeper understanding and dialogue about their lasting impact. Each one of these over 4,000 victims was denied justice and humanity, their potential brutally cut short. The frequency and distribution of these lynchings across the country reveal patterns that were instrumental in enforcing racial subordination and segregation. While some, like ZeroDarkTony, seem to portray that other groups such as Italian Americans were the first or primary targets of lynching, citing events like the 1891 New Orleans massacre, it's crucial to understand these incidents within the broader context. While the New Orleans lynching was one of the largest single-event mass lynchings, it does not overshadow the overwhelming racial violence endured by Black communities throughout this period.
A white mob lynched Claude Neal in front of the local courthouse and left his body hanging in order to terrorize the entire African American community in Jackson County, Florida. Today, there is no marker acknowledging the lynching that occurred here. In 1933, in Birmingham, Alabama, schoolteacher Elizabeth Lawrence was lynched by a white mob. She was not accused of any crime, but had merely scolded white children who were throwing rocks at her. When her son sought justice for his mother's lynching, the same mob pursued him, forcing him to flee to Boston. 17-year-old Henry Smith was tortured for over an hour and then burned alive before 10,000 people in Paris, Texas. They sold his body parts as souvenirs. Today, there is no marker acknowledging what happened here, only an abandoned lot where this public spectacle lynching took place.
As we reflect on this history, it's our responsibility to ensure that the stories of those who suffered are told with accuracy and respect. By acknowledging the true scale and motive behind acts of racial terror, we honor the memory of the victims and commit to building a future grounded in justice. For more information and to access the full report, visit the Equal Justice Initiative's website.